Alright guys, I got some big news. There will not be a new chapter of Berserk in the month of May. But you know, as we sit around and wait for new chapters, we begin to speculate more and more on what could possibly happen. And I've had a lot of speculations for Berserk over the years. And actually, funny side note, there's actually only been, I believe, let's see, 59, 61, 2, 3. There's only been 5 chapters of Berserk released since I became a fan. No, 6 chapters. It's a little disheartening. But anyways, I've had a lot of predictions about what may or may not happen in the future of Berserk, but I've never really kind of condensed them and put them in a video before. And I feel like it would be a good thing to do, one, because, well, YouTube hasn't really been too friendly to me this month, or a lot of YouTubers actually have been saying that this month has been really bad for them, and yeah, it has. So hopefully this video will help me out a little bit there. Please give it a like and comment below. I'd really appreciate it. But I thought it would be a good idea just to have one solid video with a lot of my Berserk predictions in it. That way it's something I can go back to, and then we can see how horribly wrong I was, or if I got a few things right, because I have gotten a few things right so far. And Miura is a better writer than I ever will be, but given the clues that he has given us along the way, little tidbits here and there about what Berserk could possibly be leading towards, I think I could at least come at this from a logical perspective, and even if none of these things happen or they don't come true the way that I'm predicting them to, at least I think they kind of have some solid reasoning behind them. And again, it'll be fun to kind of go back after the chapters are released to see how close I was or how abysmally far I was. So here's my predictions for Berserk, and I'm pretty much only going to go up to probably the end of the Elf Island chapters that we're in right now. As we know, the arcs are usually split into chapters. Conviction Arts had Lost Children and the Binding Chains and whatnot, and we are in the Elf Island chapters of the Fantasia arc. There's probably going to be like a part 1 and part 2 of Fantasia, and I would imagine part 1 is the Elf Island stuff, and part 2 will be whatever happens in Falconia moving forward from there. Probably Fantasia will be the last full arc of the series, I would imagine. But since I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, I'm going to be giving my predictions up until the end of the Elf Island chapters for Berserk, kind of going in order of what I think will actually happen. So the very first thing is I believe that the chapter will pick up where the last one left off, where we got one of the biggest cliffhangers of Berserk in its entirety, which is the Moonlight Boy showing up on the Elf Island. Now, this is a big deal for a couple of reasons. One is because it's all but confirmed that the Moonlight Boy and Griffith do in fact share a body together, as we saw Griffith kind of looking out the window in the last chapter as his hair starts to turn black, and then disappeared from the window only to show up on Elfhelm a few chapters later. This is also a very big deal because this will be the first time that the Moonlight Boy is here while Casca has her mind restored, or at least restored to a point where she can have coherent conversations, and they have this sort of intrinsic drive to sort of protect each other, as in they're both looking out for each other, and they have that bond just as well, like, let's put it exactly how it is. It's that mother-son bond. It's that connection, that sort of like unspoken connection that they have between the two of them that no other characters will have. It just so happens that this boy shares a body with Griffith, who is also Casca's rapist. It's a bit of an awkward situation, but here's what I think is going to happen. So the Moonlight Boy is showing up here in front of Guts, but I don't believe that the boy is here to see Guts, because Guts, as we know, is standing outside of one of the huts of the village, where Casca is inside sort of resting up, recuperating, and talking to Farnese. And I believe the boy is actually here, as it's always been, to come to Casca, to come to her side and be able to see her. Guts just happens to be here in the middle at the opportune time, and I think that has a very thematic importance to it, as he's going to be in the middle of this impossible situation that he's going to be put in. So anyways, I believe the first thing that's going to happen is that Casca will, as she did when she was in her Elaine state of mind, she will still be drawn to the boy. She will sense that he is there. She will come outside and she will walk to him, only to be around Guts again, which will cause her to have more flashbacks and a PTSD breakdown as she's had before. However, the difference here being that with the child being here, I believe that he will be able to calm Casca's mind similarly to how he calmed Guts's whenever he is in the Berserker rage mode, and he's able to enter in sort of that astral field that he does and calm Guts through his spirit or through his soul or whatever you want to call it. Now, I don't think there's going to be some sort of ultimate magic fix to Casca's situation. I think she will always have to deal with these traumatic things that she went through, but I think that the boy will be able to calm her enough in that she's actually able to have a coherent conversation connection with Guts. And I think she will remember a lot of the things that have happened, including what Guts did to her in the beginning of the Millennium Empire arc when they're traveling together and he let his rage and darkness get the best of him, where he assaulted Casca himself. I think there will definitely be a conversation there between the two of them, not just about that, but about everything that they've gone through in general. And I think we're going to get very close to, probably not the same thing, obviously, because, they won't be, getting frisky together. I think we might have a similar situation to the Wounds chapters, just being able to have Guts and Casca confide in each other and actually talk about all the things that they've been through. I could see this going on for about 2 chapters. I could see the first chapter having Casca arrive, Moonlight Boy calming her down in the beginning of their conversation, leaving on another cliffhanger, and another chapter just sort of wrapping it up and sort of having the time allowing them to talk to each other. Not to mention the fact that with the boy there, you're going to have this family dynamic that you haven't had before, and it will be similar to how they were on the beach before with the child. And Casca will recognize and she will understand and she will explain to Guts that yes, this is their son. She'll explain her connection to him, she'll explain what she feels around him, and she will explain that she remembers the little demon child when she gave birth to it, and how it kind of disappeared into the astral realm and whatnot, and how this boy keeps coming back to protect them. So I think secrets are about to be revealed in a big way, and the first one will be that Casca will admit to Guts that this is her child. Now the next thing that I believe is going to happen is beyond that. Okay, so we know that Griffith coming here in the Moonlight Boy form is going to cause some problems back in Falconia, because we have been told that time moves differently on this island than it does on the outside. It's been stated a couple of times. There's been theories about it, about how many years are going to pass in the outside world. I don't know how many years exactly, but I will say it'll be enough to make people very worried and very scared that their king is gone, especially Sonya. Yeah, so we know Sonya has been Griffith's #1 fan for the longest time now. She's always around him. She's always trying to get attention from him. She's always trying to be the one that he talks about and praises the most. She's always trying to be the center of attention. And she also has the ability to sense Ode, to sense somebody's sort of energy signal that will allow her to sort of pinpoint where Griffith is or where he went. She will follow the sky paths in order to take her all the way to Elfhelm in search for Griffith. But I don't think she's going to land in the same spot. I think she's going to land somewhere else on the island, and I think that her first encounter will actually be with Shirke. Now the question also remains, will Sonya bring somebody with her? Because let's face it, if she had to get into a fight, she is just a little girl, and she does have a relationship, or at least some sort of a bond that we know, with the Apostle Irvine. So Irvine would be the best guess as the apostle that would come with her. I don't know if she would bring an entire army of apostles. I don't think she would do that, and plus she would have to actually convince them to go, that this is where Griffith would actually be. And I think Irvine would be the one in order to take her, sort of be like a protector for her. So imagine Irvine is going to show up on the island but sort of stay back while Sonya explores and tries to discover where Griffith is. But I don't think Irvine is the only apostle that will be here. I think also we will get an appearance from motherfucking Zod! Now, as has been speculated before, Zod is most likely keeping tabs on Griffith when he transforms into the Moonlight Child. As we've seen at the beach, there's a scene where you sort of see Zod's horn in the distance. Guts has this sort of like tingly feeling, like he doesn't know if it's his brand or not. And it's been this whole thing, but we could sort of assume, because of Zod's importance to the story and to the characters of Guts and the other characters on the island, that Zod would probably be the one there to keep an eye on Griffith in his child form. Anyways, once we see Sonya and Shirke reunite, through their conversation, Shirke will learn of the fact that Sonya is actually on Griffith's team, which will cause Shirke to want to send out a telepathic message to Guts to let him know what's going on, but by that point it will probably be too late. See, what I believe is going to happen next is, while Guts, Casca, and the Moonlight Boy are having their family moment, I think Skull Knight is going to show up and let loose the biggest truth bomb in Berserk, in that the boy and Griffith are sharing a form. I think Skull Knight will have discovered this and will understand it, and understand the fact that the best possible scenario of killing Griffith is to kill him in the boy form. And as we've learned from Skull Knight and how he's kind of relinquished his humanity in the search of vengeance, he will not have that sort of empathetic vibe that Guts and Casca have, well, especially since it's their child, but also the fact that his mission means more than anything else, and that Skull Knight is just the remnants of a grudge. He is just this being that is compelled to fight against the God Hand no matter what, and destroy them at all costs. He will not understand any any hesitation against killing this child, because killing this child would mean to end the plot of the God Hand themselves. And this will bring us to what I believe is the prime focus of your wish may not be her wish, the ominous warning that Skull Knight has given Guts from way back in the beach chapters. Because what is Casca's wish and what is Guts' wish? Guts' would be his revenge on Griffith, and Casca's would be to be with her child. And so this confliction in Guts as to what is the best course of action, what does he do here? The dilemma of the heaviness of this situation, and I don't really know how he's going to react. I think he will be very indecisive, and I think this will also be the moment that Zod makes his presence known. As soon as he sees the Skull Knight coming in with intentions to kill the child, Zod will come out to also try to protect the child. And so we might have, this might just be wishful fan service thinking, but we might have a three-way battle between Guts, Zod, and the Skull Knight. Can you imagine how fucking hype that would be? I don't know, maybe some people might think that was stupid, but I think that they would all have probable cause to fight each other in this situation, whereas Skull Knight would be trying to kill the boy, Guts would be trying to protect it, hell, Guts and Zod would be trying to protect it, and then Zod might also just try to fight Guts because, well, I mean, why not? I mean, they've been trying to fight each other for so long and be on equal playing field, both of them are at their full strength right now, so why not? All this will begin to wreak havoc on the island and, of course, cause Sonya to realize, hey, something's going on over there, and for her to go with Irvine to try to intervene. Shurikei will then, of course, have to fight against Sonya. Perhaps they'll be using some sort of magic back and forth, and this will also alert all of the mages on the island, and so everybody will be culminating to this one location where Guts, Skull Knight, and Zod are all fighting each other. Now, with the super powerful mages there, as we had Gedfring and Danon and everybody, they may actually be able to restrain everybody or restrain the apostles enough to sort of like calm things down and figure out what's going on. But I think that will only last for so long because I do believe we are going to get an appearance of Femto himself. And as if causality itself has led him here, he is in a prime location to notice what? The final spirit tree, Danon's spirit tree, that tree that connects her to the earth, the tree that has the gravestones of Skull Knight's past lover, and the tree that I believe is the final obstacle from completely merging the astral and physical worlds together and bringing the rest of the God Hand fully over into this world. Now, I know this is a fan theory, and I know some people think the God Hand already exists here, that they're already in the world somewhere. I'm not entirely convinced, and in my kind of fan theory is that this tree is the final thing stopping the God Hand from being here, because there are deeper layers of the astral realm that we at least haven't seen in the physical realm yet in the story of Berserk after the merger. And for the most part, the world is still like the human physical world, but with astral creatures in it. I think the destruction and disruption of this final spirit tree will just turn the entire world into absolute madness, sort of like the Ubik picture that we saw at the end of volume 34. It's just, none of it will make sense, all of reason is out the window, and it will just be absolute chaos and madness. And with Femto's arrival and the destruction of the spirit tree, I think that Elfhelm itself will be going up in flames along with the tree, and we will get the death and destruction of a lot of characters, most of the inhabitants on the island, and a few of our main characters as well. Now, I don't exactly know who will die or in what situation they will die, but my prime candidate as the most likely character to die, and I've said this in other videos, if you see my other videos, you know who I'm going to say, and that is Farnese. Now look, I don't want Farnese to die, alright? I love Farnese as a character, and she has had the most character progression out of everyone in Berserk besides Guts himself. She's a wonderful character, she's come so far, and I absolutely adore her. However, I do believe that her death, out of all the other characters, would have the most impact on the group as a collective whole. And what do I mean by that is that Farnese has a very special and specific relationship with all the other characters that you can't really say about everybody else. I mean, except Guts probably. For Guts, she is somebody that he has actively brought the best out of. For Casca, she has been a protector and like an older sister, somebody that she has relied on for so long. For Shurikei, it's her pupil, somebody that she taught and trained and built up to help her be as powerful as she is. And of course, for Serpico, she's the person that he's been following and trying to protect this entire time, his half-sister. She might not have a deep relationship with like Isidro or the elves, but I believe Farnese's death will cause the most disruption in the group as a whole, because they all hold on to Farnese as a particular piece of the puzzle that they all need and that they all wanted around, that they actively went through hell to get her back in Britannis. Oh, not to mention the fact that Roderick is head over heels in love with her. Poor Roderick. Now, other characters may die as well, I'm not really sure, but I think the most likely candidate is Farnese for story purposes. We also might have Femto take Casca back to Falconia because he has realized that Casca is his greatest weakness, and to sort of leave her here in order to the fact that he would know that he would keep coming for her over and over again whenever he transforms into the boy. I think it would be best for him, because he did try to leave her the first time, but that was before he ever transformed into the boy, so he didn't realize that he would be going back and forth like this. I think actually being here in his Femto self, he would take Casca with him in order to make sure that she is there, so he wouldn't have to vacate his throne, so he wouldn't have to vacate the kingdom again and again. Now, I know this might put Casca into a bit of a damsel in distress situation, and I don't necessarily want that for Casca, like, oh, I'm taking her to Falconia, so now Guts has to go there. I realize that would be a little bit cheesy, but at the same time, I think it makes perfect sense for Femto to take her because he's probably unable to kill her because of sharing the body with the boy. It probably actually physically prevents him from doing so, I would imagine. That's not confirmed in any way. But at least if he knew where she was at all times, able to keep her somewhere in the city, that would prevent him from needing to leave it. But anyways, after the destruction of Elfhelm, after character deaths, and after Casca's abduction, and the fact that the world is going to be in even more turmoil than it was before, this will leave Guts with no option than to go to Falconia itself, because he will feel, one, obviously that he has to go rescue Casca, but also it will be a true test with him and the Berserker armor and fully letting himself go into that rage and vengeance, and how far he'll allow himself to do that, and how much of his humanity that he will lose. Perhaps he'll be kind of taught through it through Skull Knight, and maybe he'll be able to tell him the things that he didn't do, that he was not able to do, that maybe Guts can. Whatever it's going to be, the Berserker armor upgrade will be an internal conflict between Guts and himself. But if Skull Knight is actually able to calm Guts down enough and they're able to talk to each other once more, I do think there's a final upgrade for Guts to have, minus the internal struggle that will help him master the Berserker armor. I believe that the Dragon Slayer itself, the sword that Guts has, is going to become the next Baelot sword. Very similar to the one that Skull Knight used, but much more powerful because Guts' sword has been drenched in all of that astral blood that he's been slaying apostles with. We know that his sword and that his intentions behind it give it power. We know that it can harm on both a physical and astral level already, so adding in the power of the Baelots that's able to slice a hole through dimensions might make it the candidate to be even more powerful than Skull Knight's sword. Now, with the final spirit tree being destroyed and the world in chaos, I don't know exactly how that will affect how a Baelot sword works. Like, can you slice through into the abyss if the abyss is in the physical realm somewhere? I don't know. It gets kind of confusing. I'm not sure about all these astral realms, man. But I think that's the purpose for the sword, and I think that's what it's leading towards. As we've seen, Skull Knight's sword was a great idea, but very ineffective. And so what do? How do you kill a god hand? Trapping them in the abyss seems to be the most likely solution, but if you need a more powerful weapon in order to harness that ability, you have that with the Dragon Slayer. And I think that makes sense for a power-up if you add that alongside with Guts mastering the Berserker armor. I think you have a solid foundation for a character that could perhaps take on the God Hand. And let's not forget that the Baelot that Guts has been carrying around with him since the beginning of the manga might actually help the forging of the sword. Perhaps the Baelot itself being carried around with Guts this entire time and feeling his intentions and feeling the emotions coming off of Guts and of Puck, who is, a positive, empathic astral creature. Maybe just like positive things can be corrupted by negativity, maybe negative things can also be corrupted by positivity, and maybe that Baelot fused into the sword could actually give Guts even more power with it or even more control over it. And perhaps it was just a bait and switch all along. The Baelot was never actually going to be used to call the God Hand to turn anybody into an apostle. I know I theorized that if it was going to be anybody, it would be Serpico, but maybe the Baelot all along was actually meant to be another purpose. And just similarly with the concept behind the Berserker armor, challenging the rage and negativity, your shadow self, into being able to do something positive, maybe that's also the purpose of the Baelot, channeling something that is traditionally used for darkness and using it for something positive, or using it for another purpose. Maybe don't think about it in terms of negative and positive, maybe, good or evil. Maybe just think about it as in changing one purpose into another purpose. But anyways, after Guts is equipped and ready to go, I believe they will travel back to Falconia for the second half of the Fantasia arc, which will be probably all-out war. Anyway, so these are my predictions for the end of the Elf Island chapters of Berserk. Let me know what you guys think down below. Let me know what your predictions are as well. I'd be very curious to read that in the comments. And Whether you liked mine or didn't like mine, I appreciate you guys watching the video. I do really thank you guys for all the support that you give me on this channel. It truly means a lot. I cannot express it enough to you guys. Please give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Comment down below as well. Also check the links in the description for all of my social media, Discord, Patreon, and merch links. I'd really appreciate it. Pick yourself up a shirt. That'd be dope. Other than that, guys, hope you have a wonderful day, and let's hope we get a chapter soon.